Thank you. There is some noise coming. Please organize that. Thank you. Good evening and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, all the attendees. We are starting this 10th IRF India Chapter webinar. Actually, the Senior Vice President, Mr. Taude, was supposed to initiate this discussion in the webinar. However, his connectivity issue has forced me to start this in time. Now, this webinar is one of the series out of 12 webinars, and we have already completed 9 of them. And there is a small introduction on video by President IRF India Chapter because he is unable, he is traveling, and therefore he sends this video. So I request our IT team to play this very short 2.5 minutes video. Please play. Vikas, are you able to hear? Please.
Esteemed moderator and speakers, my colleagues from IRF, members from media, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you all for this session. In my capacity as a President IRF India, the responsibility I assumed last month. IRF India is amongst the leading not-for-profit organization in the country. It is continuously and consistently pursuing the mission of road safety and safe mobility since over a decade, committed to the UN decade.
What happened? Vikas, please continue. At least the sound was coming. That's okay. Please do that. Vikas, it is muted, so we are not able to hear. Still muted. Vikas, Mr. Ghosh.
सर वॉइस नहीं आ रही सर?
नहीं आ रहा था अभी.
Let me try once again, sir, please.
Now it is good. Now it is good. Please go ahead.
Sir, let me try.
Esteemed moderator and speakers, my colleagues from IRF, members from media, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you all for this session. In my capacity as a President IRF India, the responsibility I assumed last month. IRF India is amongst the leading not-for-profit organization in the country. It is continuously and consistently pursuing the mission of road safety and safe mobility since over a decade, committed to the UN Decade of Action 2010, which has envisaged reduction of road accidents and fatalities by 50% by 2020. IRF has been consistently undertaking vast number of activities since over a decade. From its 5 E's, engineering measures on our road networks, to vehicular engineering and influencing policies to road safety education of masses, school children, millennials, to enforcement issues, to emergency trauma care. IRFIC has been relentless with its efforts in association with government agencies and the corporate sector, aligned with new global strategy 50 by 30, that is to achieve 50% reduction in road accident and fatalities by 2030. IRF set out in early this year with a road safety action plan for India. This is being action through its 12 webinar series and 7 state demonstration corridor. Both the programs are built around the 5E concept. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to share with you that we have successfully completed 9 webinars which covered the each pertaining to engineering of roads, vehicular engineering, education, and to some extent enforcement. Today's webinar, the 10th in the series, will focus on the important aspect of enforcement, the innovations. Besides consistency and relentless efforts, innovations through use of technology will give us the edge and accountability. As a nation committed to achieve the global target of 50% by 2025 and not by 2030, as vocalized by Honorable Minister of Transport, Shri Gadkari ji, enforcement innovations have an immense role to play in improving road safety scenarios. Thank you. Jai Hind.
सिद्धा सर, you are muted, sir.
तुम कर सकते हो ना यहाँ से अनम्यूट.
Yeah. On behalf of Mr. Kapila, who is indisposed at this point in time, so I am doing his role in this welcome address. I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Rohit Baluja, President IRT, who is conducting this webinar as a moderator, and he is a crusader for the road safety for last 3 decades. I also welcome all the distinguished speakers, member of media, as well as all the attendees around the world, wherever they are. Now, all of us, we know that 1.35 million people are killed and 50 million are injured every year in road crashes. And this costs $6 billion plus every day to the world. And such a mind-boggling loss. In India itself, something like 150,000 people get killed and 500,000 injured, and many of whom remains disabled for life. Now, the economic loss due to this road accident is a humongous 3 to 5% of our GDP. Now, all the efforts that has been done during the UN Decade of Action 2011 to 20 could only create some awareness about road safety among all stakeholders, but effective significant improvement could not be possible just because the structured action plan was missing. and every action was sporadic and in piecemeal form probably. Now, IRF India chapter has embarked on this 12 webinar series during this year titled Road Safety Challenges in India and Preparation of an Action Plan for India. And this series was launched by Honorable Minister Sri Nitin Gadkari ji on 9th February this year during the Road Safety Month. Every webinar is with 3 to 4 kind of special topics on the webinar theme. And from each webinar, including this one, we intend to take the key issues, key points, and recommendations to prepare the road safety action plan. And obviously, enforcement also will be seen in that way, how to improve the road safety. Now, besides this webinar, as it has been mentioned by the president, that 7 states demonstrations safe corridor project was taken, and these are Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, and Uttar Pradesh. These 7 states have shown in the last 3 years the highest kind of accidents and fatalities, and these 7 states have been asked to give their worst road section of 100 to 150 kilometers, and we want to turn them into safest corridors. And that's the objective of this mission project. And Honorable Minister has written letters to chief ministers of each of these states asking or advising them to help IRF India chapter to execute these projects to demonstrate that road safety can be improved in road sections. Our interventions have already started and a whole lot of things are being done. Road safety audit, road safety education, and many other things. A road safety song has been prepared. So many road safety films have been prepared and those are being played to the public. And training of first aid trauma care will be done very soon. It is starting very soon along all these corridors. The above initiatives are proposed to be undertaken with the assistance of corporates and road safety enthusiasts. Except for that, the road safety, road improvements, the infrastructure improvement will be carried out by the owner of the road, that is the states, NHAI, or whoever is owning the road. Road safety initiative for demonstration safe corridors in 7 states is meant for validating the structured delivery of road safety actions, and that's what is the objective. And Nitin Gadkari ji has already said that he wants to achieve the target of 2030 by 2025 only. Now, but to make this happen, it is a huge task and it is a yug, and therefore we need to sensitize all the people, and we advise and request all our attendees and others that they should sensitize their friends, families, and all the known people on road safety rules, and sensitizing them to make sincere efforts towards it for reduction of road accidents and fatalities. And for this, obviously, a kind of generous support is also required by IRF India chapter. And how you can support IRF India chapter generously, for that you can see the IRF India chapter's website. Details are given there. IRF India website is indiairf.com. Let us all pledge to leave no stone unturned in this effort, and we will collectively surely achieve the goal. Thank you very much. And that was the Kapila's message. I request now the IT team to play the short message from Jane Todd, the President FIA and Special Envoy of UN Secretary General for Road Safety. Please play the message.
Esteemed moderator and speakers, my colleagues from IRF.
No, wrong one. Jane Todd.
Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari, my dear Kiran Kapila, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari, my dear Kiran Kapila, ladies and gentlemen, achieving safe mobility and transport systems is one of the most pressing social, economic, health and development challenges of our time. In countries where motorization is rapidly growing, like in India, some of the busiest roads are 20 times more dangerous than similar European ones. This is an enormous gap that we need to close urgently. There is added momentum for us to address this scourge. We embark on a new United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety, and we must all recommit to deliver on these 30 targets. This aims to halve the number of road deaths and injuries, the SDG 3.6, and to provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all by 2030, SDG 11.2. And with the progress made in the last decade and the tools we have gathered, we are equipped to make the difference. We have the UN Road Safety Conventions, a UN Road Safety Fund, global voluntary performance targets, and a global plan of action underway. I thank the International Road Federation for playing its significant part in this global effort. I commend your work in supporting stakeholders to improve roads, which ultimately benefit local communities, including children, who are, as we all know, among the most vulnerable. I wish you a productive webinar and look forward to a fruitful journey, rewarded by lives saved on the road, and you can count on me. Thank you.
Thank you, IT team. Can you please play now the President IRF Geneva, Mr. Bill Halkias' message, please?
Honorable Minister of Road Transport and Highways and MSMEs, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, esteemed dignitaries, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the International Road Federation, a very warm welcome to all. I thank each and every one of you for joining us today in these very difficult and complicated times. The COVID-19 pandemic is having extensive ramifications to the entire planet. But apart from the COVID-19 pandemic, there is another pandemic that has been claiming lives and affecting healthcare, business and jobs for years, the road traffic accident pandemic. According to the World Health Organization, road traffic accidents were responsible for an estimated 1,350,000 deaths worldwide in 2016, out of which 150,000 or 11% in India alone. Neither death toll is acceptable. What is worse is that road traffic crashes are completely preventable, and there is a lot that can be done to ensure that they are reduced globally. No government, no citizen, none of us should have to compromise on the safety of his family. Our collective task should be to create a truly safe, sustainable, and efficient multimodal transportation system. To finally defeat the road traffic accident pandemic, we need to work in true partnership, public and private, industry and civil society, and we need to create the conditions to do so. Last but not least, we should not forget about our human capital. We must invest in capacity building. We can adequately respond to challenges only if we have skilled personnel. On behalf of the International Road Federation, I would like to invite each and every one of you to engage with the IRF to shape a better road and transport sector and a better future for all. I would like to praise and thank India, its government and its institutions for their bold initiatives in promoting road traffic safety. And I will say to the Honorable Minister, to the President of the India Chapter of IRF, Dr. Gangopatiya, and to my good friend President Emeritus of IRF Geneva, Mr. Kiran Kapila, keep up the good work. And to all of you in India and elsewhere, please follow their example. We are all united for road safety. because united we rise and united we deliver. Thank you all.
I see Mr. Taude is already in. So can I request Mr. Taude to introduce the moderator now?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Taude.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. I will now welcome and introduce the moderator, Dr. Rohit Baluja. Dr. Rohit Baluja, President, Institute of Road Traffic Education, IRT, and Director, CTM. Dr. Rohit Baluja has a PhD in Civil Engineering from the University of Birmingham. Dr. Rohit Baluja is now a visiting faculty at the School of Civil Engineering, University of Birmingham. Dr. Rohit Baluja established the Institute of Road Traffic Education as a not-for-profit organization in New Delhi in 1991, which has led to the establishment of College of Traffic Management in the NCR, Delhi, which is the only single umbrella facility for research and training in all areas of traffic management. The College of Traffic Management has now been recognized as the Center for Excellence in Road Safety for the Southeast Asia region. Dr. Rohit Baluja is a member at the United Nations Road Safety Collaboration. As the President IRT, he is observer at the United Nations Global Forum for Road Traffic Safety, Working Party 1. The IRT has been granted the roster consultative status by the United Nations Economic and Social Council and have recently signed an MOU with the United Nations towards promoting road safety in Southeast Asia.
Can we request Dr. Baluja to take over, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Taude. Thank you, Professor Sikdar. If you could also give me the possibility of sharing the content.
Yes, I think it is already there. Please.
Yeah. Right. Professor, can you see this presentation?
Yes, we can see that.
So our President, Mr. Sikdar, Mr. Taude, our honorable speakers, and all the people who are present here. Greetings from the Institute of Road Traffic Education and the College of Traffic Management. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a moderator for this session. As an introduction to this subject, I would like to, although I have been asked to speak on four topics, which are adoption of smart technologies, highway police patrol system, enforcement of laws and policies aiming at road safety, and traffic enforcement through public-private partnership. However, with these, where the speakers will be speaking, I have an introduction to the subject. Let me very quickly come to a short story. In 1994, I took a camera and a video camera, and I started to film various police personnel at different junctions who were enforcing traffic laws. And I realized from this that in 94 that 7 out of 10 violations which they were booking were faulty because they never considered the road environment. They were only looking at a violation in isolation of the road environment. And this led to the formation of the creation of an interceptor, which I created in 1995 as a single umbrella traffic engineering mobile facility. And here it had speed measurement devices, laser-based speed measurement devices, and 4 cameras to understand violations with reference to the road environment. Now, this was with the Delhi police, and they gave me a sub-inspector and a constable, and it led to such a success that my interceptor was acknowledged as a part of the National Republic Day Parade in 1996 as the best technology, innovative technology in traffic enforcement. And further on, as we carried on, in 2001 again, 3 vehicles. It was a unique thing that a non-profit organization vehicle was accepted as a part of the parade where the president salutes. Now, this was technology in traffic enforcement. And then it rolled out and into various states. Today, states have over 1,500 of these interceptors working. From Delhi it started, it went over to Delhi and to various states, and then the Chief Minister of Goa was specially here, and we also initiated in Goa and then into Haryana and various other. The laboratory of where we are training police has got almost like 60,000 hours of enforcement films from across the country. Now here is where an entire research is taking place, and which led to my doing my PhD and my post-graduation in this subject, to realize that enforcement is not just enforcement by per se. Today we are constructing 27 kilometers of roads every day, of new highways, as the Honorable Minister says. But when we leave the traffic onto these highways, we realize that traffic violations begin, and also road serious injuries and fatalities. Today we have 250 million vehicles on our roads, out of which 74% are two-wheelers. But imagine that 25 million vehicles are added to our Indian roads every single year, and 30 million licenses are issued. And what happens to the enforcement system as we grow more? Then comes the smart city mission. The government announced 100 smart cities, out of which 59 are operational smart cities. But are they really smart? Do you understand that what is smartness in it? So, and then with the smart cities, we also had another program of the bus rapid transport system, out of which Delhi got scrapped. But why did it get scrapped, and why are the others not working as we wanted? What went wrong? What really went wrong was the road environment, the traffic engineering. We never considered that traffic engineering also was a subject, and therefore today we are facing large amount of problems. This is another smart city as on today. This is Surat. Now, can you imagine what is wrong with this city? Is it the people are bad people, they're behaving badly? Is it traffic engineering? Is it so many police officers here? Or is it the transport department? So once again, there is something which we need to understand. That's another important city in Uttar Pradesh. Similar situation. You have almost 10 policemen working there. But is it smart? So where does the smartness lie and where does the enforcement come in is a matter that we need to understand. In 2007, we conducted a study which was well recognized by the government of Delhi, that in a daily, on an average on every day, 146 million traffic violations were committed by motorized road users on Delhi streets every day, out of which 34 million, which was 24%, were because of faulty road and traffic engineering. We continued our studies in various parts of the country, 65 cities. Basic studies, 58,000 kilometers of road safety audit on camera of national and state highways. And when we came down to Delhi, we realized something totally gone amiss. The traffic control devices, signs, signals, and road markings, 75%, 2/3, did not meet the standards, the IRC codes of practice. So unfortunate, that's Delhi. And so whatever Delhi does, everybody copies and believes that this is right. Again, the study was accepted and acknowledged by the government. The Supreme Court Committee on Road Safety came forward and wrote to 24 states, to the chief secretaries, that please look at traffic engineering. If you really want enforcement of traffic laws, look at traffic engineering and look at also the training of your people. So friends, coming down to the subject, enforcement of traffic laws, as I understand as very well as we look into the world, the aim is to moderate road user behavior. to moderate road user behavior by three things. Prevention is good, preventive, you need to prevent. Then persuasive means, and then punitive measures. And for what? Not only for safety, but also for discipline, for efficiency of movement of traffic. So everything comes together with the aim of enforcement. Now coming to India, road traffic violations can be divided between motorized violations and non-motorized violations. Can you imagine? The amount of motor traffic and the non-motor traffic is far larger. Each pedestrian, each human being is a pedestrian. The motorized vehicles, the violations are controlled by the Motor Vehicles Act and the rules and so forth. But when it comes down to the non-motorized traffic, there are no defined regulations. Only police acts or municipal acts take place. So if you see this vehicle going across a signal, he cannot be challaned. They can lay him off the road, but he cannot be challaned. It doesn't form an offense. So bicycles can go over, pedestrians can. We cannot do anything because they don't have a liability within the motor vehicle laws. But when it comes down to road traffic violations, then there are moving violations, parking, driver passenger violation, administrative and vehicle related. Now here, for example, on highways, a major amount with 39% of people die on national highways. 25% die on state highways, 65% people die on national and state highways. Faulty overtaking, wrongful without giving indication, driving in wrong lanes. What about speeds? High speeds, that is what we report, but are the speeds per standards? Sorry, it is unfortunately wrong. Traffic engineers are not there to put by scientific assessment what should be the maximum speed limits. You come down to driving on the wrong side of the road. Is everybody driving on the wrong side of the road by purpose, or is it by non-information or issues related to? You come down to not wearing helmet. This is something which we can control directly by enforcement. Not wearing helmet, seat belts, mobile phones, drunken driving, etc. These violations are huge, but it is because of shortage in public transportation. What do we do about it? Technology cannot solve, but we need public transport to solve. What about vehicle violations? Now, these are public transport buses which are running every day and you know why? What about these violations? Road violations which are killing people. Now, the new section 198A of the Motor Vehicle Act has come forward to say that we need to book these people as well. Now, these are the people who are actually doing a large percentage of accidents in our country are faulty roads. So today, if you really want to bring safety and bring technology, please understand that needs to be looked into the infrastructure first. Now, smart city programs. What are we doing? Putting cameras. The moment you get the money, put cameras, put a big center, and every city has now got cameras and they're challaning people. I can tell you more than 50 to 60% of these violations which we are booking are faulty. They're wrong. It is sadistic. They're wrong because we haven't looked at the road environment. 74% two-wheelers. Can you imagine? Everybody is now on a. Now, for example, in Delhi on a 4-lane road, there are 12 lanes, which means that every single vehicle is violating because the law says you must drive in your lane only and change the lane only after giving proper signals. So it is traffic engineering. The section 119 of the Motor Vehicles Act very clearly defines that the motor vehicle driver shall drive the vehicle in conformity with mandatory traffic signs. Are they in order? Your mandatory regulatory signs are almost across the country, 70 to 80% not in order, and in conformity with driving regulations, motor vehicle driving, and so many other laws which the government wants to know. So today the regulations, if you really want regulations to be enforced, you have to ensure that the traffic control devices signs, signals, and road markings are as per defined standards. Secondly, it is important that drivers are trained so that they understand the law and they understand the traffic control devices. Today, for example, in Delhi, 75% signs are wrong. Look at the stop sign. The new Law Motor Vehicle Act came in and says whoever crosses a stop sign faultily will be challaned 1,000 rupees or 6 months of imprisonment. But it says that the stop sign shall not be placed on a major road and not against a signal. 95% of signs in 65 cities, stop signs, are wrong. And people are violating. Why? Because of fault in traffic engineering. Look at this smart city. The signal is placed before and the stop line comes later. So everybody drives up to the stop line. They've already crossed. And they're all violating. They're all under the camera. They're sending violations at home, 1,000 rupees each. Helplessly, they are paying. Helplessly. But to whom should they report? Where should they go? It is unfortunately. Is this man trained? Is this policeman? Tell me. Today, we believe that you don't have to train the police. It's all right. Just put cameras, systems, and everything will be all right. Technology will take care. 65 cities we moved. We took pre-tests of these people, these policemen, right from constables to assistant commissioners of police. What was the maximum knowledge they had? 26% of the law. 26%. Where do we begin from? Are these people trained? They are the lawmakers. Sitting in the uniforms, they believe that whatever we'll do, whoever they put a license has to be cancelled, it'll be cancelled. But they're not trained. What about these traffic engineers who have to fix signs, signals, and road markings? Are they trained? They're not trained. In the last 3 months, I have been training PWD engineers. Once again, not more than 24% of the knowledge of traffic engineering. They're civil engineers, of course, fine, great. So today, technology is an enabler. Technology is not a solution by itself. Today, every police officer, every smart cities has bring ANPR. ANPR, what a big thing ANPR. It was developed in United States in 1976. 45 years later, we are speaking about the technology. Automatic number plate recognition, fine, but what would you do with that technology? So please understand that technology should be invested upon as an enabler and a catalyst, but not as a solution by itself. Driving schools and driving instructors. Are the driving schools instructors trained? Are driver trainers trained? Are motor licensing officers trained? Are RTOs trained? No, they're not trained. There's no need for them to be trained. So my closing slide is that today, friends, let's talk about everything else. But if you really want enforcement of traffic violations, we have to make sure that traffic control geometrics should meet. Important to build capacity of roadway engineers and traffic engineering. Traffic police, they should not be allowed to stand onto the road and touch or say what is happening. They only know the machines, but they need to be trained to understand driving regulations, other provisions of the Motor Vehicles Act, traffic control devices and rules, and the state motor vehicle rules, of course. And finally, motor licensing officers. It is a shame today that almost every license we give is not awarded as per the Motor Vehicles Act. And if we really don't want to do this, then we can go on. We lose 152 fatalities every year. World Bank says, sorry, it is double. 820 people die every day, and we'll continue to do that until we create capacity in these 3 directions. I'd like to thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And before I actually go ahead, I would like to now take the time to introduce our 3 important speakers. I would like to take the time to introduce my 3 important speakers. With your permission, Professor Sikdar.
Please
I'd like to
introduce.
start with the introduction of my dear friend, T. Krishna Prasad. He is the Director General of Police and Chairman of the Road Safety Authority of Telangana and founder of the KP Foundation. Krishna Prasad has a BTech from the NIT Warangal, MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and is also having a law degree from the Osmania University. He served as the head of road safety for 5 years in various committees, including those of the central government. Mr. Krishna Prasad was involved in the preparation of the AP Industrial Policy of 2000, AP IT Policy 2000, AP Infrastructure Development Enabling Act 2001, and the SEZ Act 2005, and the Telangana Road Safety Bill of 2018. He is a special person with a multi-pronged approach in a coordination of massive road safety enforcement coupled with campaigns. He's had various decorations of the Police Medal, President's Police Medal for Antrik Suraksha Seva, Medal for Anti-Naxal Work. Krishna Prasad has also authored the book titled Trafficking in Persons, which is a tip of the iceberg. Mr. Krishna Prasad should write his next book on road traffic management and road policing. Sure, he will do that one day. We have another friend, a 1996 batch IPS officer, Orissa Cadre IPS officer, who from the police is now a multitasker, also the transport commissioner and the chairman of the State Road Transport Corporation of Orissa. A person who is known for his conviction, and he is regarded as an investigator for details, and is also an Iron Man, as they call him in Orissa. His notable assignments include as the SP in the left extremist areas of an IGP modernization. Mr. Bothra actually hails from Rajasthan, and after completing his graduation, he joined the Indian Police Service. He's a celebrated cop as well, and not only a celebrated, he's also a social worker. He has his NGO India Cares and has been awarded the Kathin Seva Medal 2007, Commendation Disc 2019, President's Police Medal 2013, and the Governor's Medal of 2019. We have yet another two speakers with us, whom I would also welcome. The first is Mr. Dhaval Desai. He's the Managing Director of the Traffic Tech Solutions, the one which you know very well. Mr. Dhaval is the founder and managing director of Traffic Tech and has an experience of 30 years in traffic management and smart mobility. With his background in electronics engineering and marketing, he has pioneered great achievements across the country with brought in technologies through partnerships. The largest global technology companies such as Swarco, Teledyne, Fleur, Elovisa Capsch, Vitronics HD, to name a few. And from there, he has also been delivering, his company has been delivering the largest World Bank ATC project for semi-automatic tolling, GSM-based highway phones, among smart card and others. I welcome you to this program. And then at the end, we have Mr. Amit Thate. He is the founder and CEO of Cataline Info Products Private Limited. Mr. Amit Thate is the founder and CEO of Cataline Infra Products Private Limited, has an experience of over 20 years in road marking and road safety industry. With his foresight and astute technical prowess, Cataline today is the foremost manufacturer of turnkey solutions and has a footprint of and exports in over 35 countries of the world. Amit is a civil engineer from the Nagpur University. With his passion, he has been creating safe corridors of traffic and has led to the technical collaboration of global leaders in road safety solutions like Swarovski Group, Austria, Welvoline BV, Netherlands, and various solutions have been implemented in 500 plus projects of the National Highway Authority of India across India. By introducing this subject, I once again invite all our speakers to join us and give us your best and give us advice and motivation to the entire globe on enforcement technologies. To start with, I'd like to invite Mr. Arun Bothra, IPS Transport Commissioner of Orissa, who actually is in Calcutta, and he is on a vehicle and he had to take a flight, and he made sure that whatever happens, I shall be a part of the system and I will speak from the vehicle. I invite you, Mr. Bothra, for your address.
Dr. Baluja, thank you so much. I'm actually checking in right now. Can I come at number 2, please? I'm at the airport. It took little time. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible. It's okay. No
Yes,
problem.
fine,
We'll
Mr.
take
Bothra,
I'll come at number 2. Thank you so much.
Yes, don't worry, Mr. Bothra.
I'm checking it at the airport, Calcutta airport.
Please also take some measures of COVID-19, social distancing, etc. Very important. We can't lose you. We can't have you ill, Mr. Bothra. You're a very important person to all of us. I now would like to take the opportunity to invite Mr. Pramod Verma is not here, and we would like to have Mr. T. Krishna Prasad, IPS Director General Police, Chairman of the Road Safety Authority of Telangana, to make a presentation, sir.
Very good afternoon, or rather good evening, good morning, because more than 160 attendees have joined us from across the globe. Thank you very much, Professor Sikdar and my dear friend Rohit Balujaji and fellow speakers, Tavadeji, Davil Desai, Arun Bothra, and Amit Tate. It gives me a great pleasure to be a part of the webinar series of IRF. And let me take this opportunity of appreciating and complimenting all the efforts of IRF to make the roads and the people safer all over the world. And today I will be speaking on the enforcement and the policy initiatives. So let me take my few slides. So the enforcement laws and policies, why country took such a long time to bring in new amendments, what happened in between, and finally what is that we have come out with, and are the policy framework and the institutional framework adequate and in place? So we have to see together the policy framework and the institutional framework. So recently I had an opportunity of submitting the National Road Safety Plan to MHA through BPRND, and right now the document is with MORTH under consideration. I'll give a brief account of the National Road Safety Plan which I have submitted. These are the contents. So we talked about road safety in India, and prior to COVID, it was all 150,000 fatalities, unfortunately, every year. And actually it was going up and relentlessly, and since that was going up, and in some states, as the states' names were also read out, I will not repeat. Government of India was rightly worried as to what is that we have to do, and the MV Act was amended, and a lot of changes were brought in. Fantastic suggestions and improvements have come out in the MV Act, and huge penal amounts were also defined. But other than the penal amounts, what I see in the new Motor Vehicle Act of the country is the policy framework and also an introduction of the institutional framework. What I mean by institutional framework is the Act also talks about the National Road Safety Board and recommends all the states also to come out with certain institutional framework. Before I go to my next slide, let me also remind that Kerala, Karnataka, Gujarat states have come up with road safety acts. There could be one or two states which have come in meanwhile, but fundamentally the road safety acts, the number of states which have come out with the road safety acts are very few in the country. And after coming out of the Road Safety Act, did these acts give any biting teeth to the road safety authorities as an institutional framework which was talked about in these acts? The answer is unfortunately no. So they're not actually operational as everybody wants or the lawmakers want them to be. So they are there on paper, but are they really operational? Are they having powers? Are they having the biting ball? So while the fear of law, why I'm saying fear of law, the huge penal amounts, we thought that fear of law will be there and deterrence will be there. That is essential. But more than that is the hawk eye of the enforcement. Is it there? You may say, I will fine you 1 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees, but are you actually catching people? So fundamentally, it is not only that we should do something as a enforcement agency, but we should also appear to be doing it. So both are very, very important. So the basic principles, what I feel is a zero tolerance. The moment something happens, you should be there. 90% of the people think that I can always violate traffic rule or road safety rule and still get away. So that is not a good thing to happen. So zero tolerance and certainty of punishment are the guiding principles in road safety. So if we can come to that, and how do we come to that, is basically the contactless enforcement, because you can't put a policeman everywhere. Because if 500,000 violations are taking place, accidents are taking place, that means even if you multiply it by 10, where violations are taking place but accidents are not taking place, and violations are taking place and accidents are taking place only 500,000. You can't put so many people in all kinds of permutations, combinations, and imaginations. So therefore, we need to depend a lot on technology. So the contactless enforcement and evidence-based enforcement are the key factors. So I was concentrating on the national highways and the state highways. If you look at this chart, it's very, very clear. Just the national highways, 2.2% of the road network, 30% of the accidents of the country, 36% of the deaths. And if you add the state highways to that, more than 50% of the total deaths are only on the national highways and the state highways. So highways, and why highways are accounting to such a huge number of fatalities and road crashes in India. And of course, we all keep talking about accident as though it is an accident, but I generally prefer to call it as a crash because it is a human affected crash and it's not an accident. And all the studies so far in India have shown that nearly 85% of the road crashes are a result of human behavior. So if we take this as a fact, because the data is saying so, the national highways and the state highways are contributing to more than 55% of the total deaths in road crashes in India. So therefore, I thought I should first concentrate on what is happening on the highways. So on the highways, if you fundamentally, number one thing is, as a country, as a nation, India does not have an enforcement agency dedicated and committed for road safety. We have law and order police, we have special branch police, we have CID police, we have traffic police, all are required. But do we have a dedicated and committed road safety police anywhere? In spite of the states which have passed the Road Safety Act. So we have to take a look. This is what I'm talking about, the institutional framework. One part, very small part of the institutional framework. So what is happening is on the highways, round the clock road safety enforcement is not there. Typically, it is a state subject and the state enforcement agencies, particularly the traffic law enforcement, are present in the urban areas, less present in the rural areas, and not at all present on the highways. And the evidence-based enforcement is also absent. So the visibility of the road safety police is very, very less. I'm talking about entire country. I will not take up the best examples. I will take the average scenario. There are some states which have done for exceedingly well. So we will not talk about them and be satisfied that everything is happening very well in the country. We should talk about across the country. So basic approach is zero tolerance. We should look at the zero tolerance approach in the entire country. And this is a very important recommendation which I made in the National Road Safety Plan is multiple enforcement agencies using and leveraging technology. What I mean by multiple enforcement agencies, I'll show you in the next slide is, if there is a national highway, why should only one particular police be allowed or permitted to do road safety enforcement? Why not more than one agency? Why do we see in terms of territorial jurisdictions or my territory versus your territory? Territorial exclusivity should be removed. And why and how I will show you in the next slide. So the enforcement proposal is one part of the proposal of the National Road Safety Plan. The other things which I talked about, I was mentioning, is a policy framework across the country, the institutional framework across the country. The road safety fund should be sizable. The black spots identification, rectification, and heavy dependence on technology. These are the other important areas of the proposal which I have submitted. Now, when it comes to again enforcement part of it, we know the goal. So again, we talked about the zero tolerance and certainty of payment. And errant vehicles on the highway need not be stopped. To achieve all these, we need to do the contactless, IT-enabled and technology-driven enforcement. There's a very good example on the speed management and the speed detection. The Adore company in Pune is using the Australian technology. They're doing a fantastic job. And I have seen yesterday, I was in IIIT Hyderabad, the artificial intelligence and robotics. They have combined these two and doing a lot of research. So a lot of things are possible in our artificial intelligence robotics. And we can take the IT enabled technology and solutions to the next level. Kindly recollect in 2012 in AP state, before the bifurcation of AP and Telangana, in AP state, we are the first one to come with the e-challan system. So how many states, in spite of nearly a decade later, we are talking to 2021, how many states have taken that particular leap in technology of e-challan and CCTV camera and having a centralized server? So we need to bring all the states to one particular table and then make things uniform in the entire country. So again, multiple agencies. Whose multiple agencies? Both federal government as well as state government. Why should we see national highway as somebody's territory? It is there everywhere. It is all over the country, all over the states. So that was a plan which was submitted, and what it talked about as far as enforcement is concerned is having a dedicated enforcement agency on the highways. The federal government, NHAI, should have a dedicated enforcement agency on all the national highways. All the states should have dedicated enforcement agencies on their states, and nothing should prevent, because by law, enforcement is a state subject. Therefore, nothing should prevent the state highways enforcement agency and also the local SHO to do enforcement on the national highway again and again. I'm repeating, without obstructing or stopping the vehicles, but using technology. So that is the basic approach which I have suggested. Basically, how do you ensure the safe driver behavior is what we are all looking at. So if we want to reduce the total number of accidents in the next 5 years by 50%, and if we want to concentrate on the highways where more than 55% of the fatalities are happening, why are we neglecting that? Why are we not doing something? So what is that we should do? A lot of friends and a lot of people ask me, what do you mean by dedicated enforcement agency? what will be the expenditure of it, who is going to put that bill, and what is the cost benefit analysis. So we have done all that exercise. So we have given a structure. I will not go into the details. There'll be headquarters office, regional offices, divisional offices. This is going parallel to the NHAI arrangement, and there'll be field offices. There is a scale to which, as far as the kilometers are concerned, 1,800 kilometers, one divisional office, and the last field office is for every 300 kilometers, one field office. Mind you, there'll also be a control room in each area. So when we're talking about enforcement, again, everybody talks about vehicles, devices, patrolling vehicles, interceptors, ambulances, and there's a beauty in combining the three vehicles into one. Tamil Nadu has done a fantastic experiment with beautiful results. How do you combine these three into one element is another excellent point that to be taken. And of course, equipment is, there's no end to the equipment: speed guns, breath analyzers, CCTV cameras, PDAs, laptops, etc., etc. And so many devices that are available, and how many are being put to use is the question. So everybody knows, everybody talks about them, but how many are there actually made available to the police officer who is doing the road safety enforcement? Fundamentally, where is your dedicated road safety enforcement officer in any state, in any place, on any highway? So this is a huge, big vacuum. Suggestive budget, we worked on capex and opex. So 3,308 crores is a capex, and recurring expenditure is about 2,700. And incidentally, when we were calculating this, I also realized this capex is about 4% of the capex of the National Highway Authority of India. And this recurring expenditure opex of 2,007 crores is only 2.4% of the budgeted expenditure under the ministry on the roads. So we are talking about very, very small amount. Okay, 4%, somebody might say, no, that is very big. Why should I do this? It's huge. And 2.4% is also not small thing, because if you're talking about 3,300 crores and 2,000 crores, put together about 5,300, or let us say 5,500 crores is very huge. So should we do, should we not? Should we think 10 times, 100 times? I say, don't think even for a second. Why? I will show you. We have used the models. I think where's my, yeah, here we are. So basically we are combining the enforcement, emergency care, and education and awareness in one. So when we have a dedicated team, the team will do all the three. It is a multi-sectoral approach on the highways. Then we use the Norwegian studies and the NIMHAN studies as a base to arrive at our calculations on the algorithm. And what we found, this is on the y-axis, you find the accidents and the fatalities on the national highways alone. I'm not talking about the entire country, that is MDR, towns, rural areas, state highways. Only on the national highways, when we see this projection using the algorithms that were found in Norwegian studies, NIMHANS, and other European countries, these are the projections. By 2025, the road accidents will come down approximately 44% cumulatively. Similarly, the fatalities will come down by 48%. In terms of absolute value, what we expect is nearly 38,000 of human lives in India will be saved in the National Highway Road Safety Plan scenario when compared to the as-is various condition. That is, so many lives can be saved if we have it dedicated. So this is all said and done. It is based on the algorithms which are not within the country purely, and some are within the country. So if someone wants to challenge, no, it cannot be 38,000. Fine. Even if you say 20,000 or 25,000, I think it's a great effort by spending just about 5,000 crores.
I would request for 2 minutes more.
Yes, sir. So cost versus benefit analysis. Next thing is, even if you say the benefit is about, if you put all the technologies, all the CCTV cameras, etc., and if you look at the kind of e-chalaning and kind of revenue that you're going to develop, the revenue is going to be much higher than the cumulative capital and operational expenditure. And over a period of 5 years, by 2025, you are actually going to make about 5,000 crores of surplus. I will not go into this slide because everybody knows about the 3% GDP loss and what 1% of that will actually amount to. So 1% of that is about 1,901 billion rupees, that is 190,000 crores. So if you then look at the prevention of loss of GDP, if you allow things to happen as it is, the 3% GDP loss will be nearly 13. And if you implement this, the loss will be lesser than that. And what you are actually preventing the loss of GDP will be about 5 crores. Of course, these are projections. And this is a cumulative figure as on 2025. So what do we mean by more than one enforcement agency should perform on a particular thing is on the national highway? I recommend the dedicated National Highway Road Safety Police, as well as the State Highway Road Safety Police, as well as the state station officer, so that nobody goes undetected. But the rider is here is use of technology. Zero tolerance is what we are talking about. Zero contact, no contact, contactless enforcement by 3 separate agencies competing with each other without harassing the driver, but using technology. Similarly, if you look at the state highway, NH Road Safety Police will not come there. The other 2 agencies will come there. On the MDRs, National Highway Road Safety Police and State Highway Road Safety Police will not be interested. Only the SHO will do it. What they will be doing: enforcement, emergency, and education. So NRSP is a dedicated. On the state highway, you will have a dedicated force. We're talking about convergence of 3 different. SHO is not dedicated to road safety, but NHRSP and State Highway Road Safety Police are dedicated. This is what we are seeing, a very beautiful example of state plus center collaboration. And this is symbiotic and compliance. 9 out of the 12 Global Plan 2021-2030 are answered by using this particular solution. So I strongly recommended the National Road Safety Plan. Again, let me repeat finally, this is just a part of the total plan, which I talked about enforcement and policy, but other things that policy framework across the country, institutional framework across the country, road safety funds in every state, black spots identification and rectification, funds, methodologies, etc. across the country, and technology. Technology is the answer. Technology is a solution. It should be gadget based. It should be equipment based. So on this, and here I will stop here. I'm open for any questions. Kindly shoot.
Thank you, Mr. Krishna Prasad. We will have the questions right at the end. We have a wonderful presentation, and you have been actually a motivator and a leader of road safety for years together. And I'm sure and hope that your recommendations will see light of day soon. Mr. Both about to board his flight, and I would like to offer the floor to Mr. Bothra. He may not be able to make a presentation, and so we will have his address and whatever questions and answers we can have very quickly. He has about 14 minutes to himself, and so I welcome Mr. Bothra from the Calcutta airport.
Thank you, Dr. Am I able to hear me?
Pardon me?
Dr. Baluja, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll be because my flight is I want to mention. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Mr. Professor, for the wonderful presentation. Excellent suggestions. Dr. Baluja, I have when we talk about enforcement. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. When we talk about enforcement, we talk mostly about the people on the road who are driving the vehicle. But taking a cue from your presentation, I'll take it like the definition of enforcement should not have only the driver. Are we enforcing safe roads or a good road to drive? Am I enforcing? Are we enforcing the time and the road owning agencies? We have to enforce because the law now permits us to prosecute in the road correcting the black spot. I am saying that not only the drivers, the enforcement also means that we enforce good roads. We enforce people to make good roads. We enforce right quality of vehicles, enforcing healthy vehicles on the road. Healthy vehicles on the road, good quality road, and we also enforce that licenses are given to the deserving people only, which is not happening right now. Wrong people are getting licenses, vehicles are not in good health, roads are not good, and we are only enforcing the drivers, we are enforcing the law over the drivers only. It is very important that the people have the right driving behavior, but my concern is, are we enforcing the other agencies? Are we pushing the other agencies to do their job correctly? Now I'll give you an example. I'll try to explain with one example. I have joined as Transport Commissioner only 3 months back. Now there's a concept of black spot, as we know. Every year in Odisha we have about 350 black spots identified. Every year we have 350 black spots identified in Odisha. Now, and every year we are getting reports from the NHAI and the state road agencies that they are correcting these black spots. And the black spots have been corrected, have been rectified. We conducted a small study and we found that 100 black spots or 100 black spots which have been rectified on paper. Which have been rectified on paper, but every year the same place is coming as black spot again. You had a black spot, you have rectified it. Even after rectification, the same place where people are dying. Not 1 year, then next year, then next year. Year after year, the same place is a black spot, same place we are rectifying, and same place more and more people are dying. Are we doing action properly? Is anybody enforcing that? That's my concern. So with that, Mr. Baluja and other senior people here, I would like to just very quickly touch upon what all things we are doing in Odisha. To improve the road safety scenario. Now, hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Right. Now, first and foremost, as I mentioned, this black spot business, we saw that the black spots are getting repeated. People are dying in the same place again and again. So we have found 100 such places in Odisha where the black spots have been repeated, and a dedicated team, more technically sound team, is being deputed there. They are creating the report, and we are insisting on the road owning agencies to correct those. I'm very hopeful I'm very hopeful that with more technological intervention, with serious level of expert advice, and enforcing the better quality road from the road running agency, we should be able to reduce the fatalities on these areas particularly. Now, next is, as it was mentioned by Mr. Baluja and other people also, and also by Mr. Pastor, we have also started our this ITMS system on a 100-kilometer stretch. On 100-kilometer stretch, we are putting these cameras and with high resolution. This is the beginning of the project which we have started on the national highway. We want to take it forward. We just want to see what is the result. This project has been given name Disha, and about 100-kilometer area we are putting about 24 gantries with all kinds of cameras, and then of course it is connected to each alarm. It is connected to a very sophisticated control room at Bhubaneswar, and we hope that this will improve our situation further. Then one more thing, as I was mentioning about the licensing part, with experience from the Western countries, one thing which we are trying here in Odisha is that all the drivers, everybody who is applying for a license, he has to go a training from Red Cross. We are roping in Red Cross for that everybody should be first trained in first aid and also in other road safety things. For that, we are using little technology here. We are keeping 1-day online course for all the applicants who are applying for the license, and then one offline test, 1-day online course on road safety, first aid, and all these things, and then one offline test at the time of the applying of license. This we are just starting in Odisha. I think I just thought to share with all of you a new kind of thing we are planning here. Then of course the vehicle fitness center, as it has been it is being tried in various states, that we are trying. Then automated driving testing track, everybody knows about it, but I just thought to share with you here that, and in 19 places we are going to put it there. And Baluja Sahab, as you mentioned about the road signages, that road signages are not correct in most of the places. That is, we are taking very seriously, and we plan to make Odisha a fully a state where all the road signages are correct. This 2-year project we are taking up. In fact, I got the idea from you only when we had a meeting in Delhi, and you mentioned about this particular thing. So we are taking up a 2-year program in Odisha, where in 2 years' time we plan to correct all the road signages and make Odisha one state which has all the signages are correct. One more thing which is not exactly technology oriented, but I would like to share with this gathering with all the senior participants and the speakers here. We started one first responder training where we are training 30,000 people across the state. It's a big program. Government has allotted about 2 crore rupees for this particular thing. 30,000 people at 500 most vulnerable places. At 500 most vulnerable places, the accident spots, the critical junctions, we are going to start this training. This is happening from 8th of November. It will be 6-month program. This is one thing, it's very ambitious program we are launching. Not very highly technologically or technology oriented, but this is something which we are doing. I thought to, I am happy to share with you because we have put a lot of efforts in this. This is Baluja from my side. If I can answer maybe at 1 or 2 questions for you, that will help, because I have to rush after that.
Thank you so much for making it possible for you to speak with us, Mr. Bothra. One question, small, because you have the time. As an IPS officer, you have joined the Transport Department as Transport Commissioner. Transport is the nodal authority for everything to do with road transportation, everything from public transport to road safety to your skills to licensing to everything. What do you feel, Mr. Bothra, as the importance that an IPS officer coming as a transport commissioner? What is the, how do you feel the importance about it?
Actually, in Odisha and in a few states, not many, but some people have been there in this position. I'll put it in two ways. Number one, Sri Prasad sir will also agree with me. When you reach at a particular stage of your career, say after 25 years, this is your role becomes basically a managerial role, a middle level or senior level manager. So it is not very difficult to handle any particular department. In fact, let me tell you, I am in transport department for 3 years now, though only 3 months in as transport commissioner. But earlier I was heading the city transport company in Odisha in Bhubaneswar, and also the state transport corporation of the state, which has been a very fulfilling experience for me. However, coming back to your question, because transportation and this particularly road safety, Baluja sir, when you have a police officer as transport commissioner, it is a good thing because the focus on road safety will be more. The focus on road safety will be more. This is very important thing I am telling you. When you have a police officer as transport commissioner, his focus, because we come from the enforcement side, we have seen the accidents, we have seen the dead bodies, we have seen people dying on the road, we have seen people doing stupid things on road and getting killed or killing other people. So our focus will be more on the enforcement, our focus will be more on road safety. So for this particular gathering, this is very important that police officers are in this position, so that because they have been dealing with these things all through their career and they feel helpless. I'm telling you, I was IG crime earlier in the state for 3 years. As IG crime, I will always say the figures, road safety, road accident figures, people getting killed. And I will feel bad that I'm not able to do anything. People are getting killed, but I'm not able to do anything because I don't have that capacity and authority. Now, God has given me this chance, as I was telling you in Delhi also. God has given me this chance because of those 3 years helplessness. Today, I am in this position where I cannot blame anybody else if I'm not able to do anything. So, a police officer in transport department in a regulatory role is always good for the road safety. So, I have to rush. I'm the last passenger now.
Thank you so much. Wish you all the best. Have a nice flight, Mr. Bothra. Come home safely.
Thank you, Mr. Bothra.
Thank you. I take the opportunity now to invite Mr. Dhaval Desai to take the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saluja. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me to hear everybody. It's a wonderful experience. Mr. Kapila is not here, but I would like to thank him for inviting me. And Dr. Sigdar also, I would like to thank him for inviting me. So it was eye-opener when I heard Dr. Saluja talking about, the situation, real situation on the road. It was real eye-opener, the dark truths on the road, where everybody's talking about enforcement, but he touched upon a different aspect where he said that unless there is proper traffic engineering, proper road geometry, proper lane markings, and proper infrastructures, just punishing people is not right. So I do agree to that point of human behavior and psychology. So being a technocrat, my presentation will be today talking about a little bit of future technologies in enforcement and how we can go about enforcement using these technologies, and also how PPP model can be the best way of going forward, where the technology company and the government are able to correlate and exist together. So Just give me a second. I'll just put the presentation. Yeah. Mr. Amit and Cataline and Trafitech, we work together, and this is a joint effort that we are going to show. So I'll be speaking on his behalf too in the presentation. Yeah. I'll just share the presentation once. Is the presentation visible now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yes,
So
please.
I will. Yeah. So I welcome all of you, and thank you for this opportunity. So I'll just go through the presentation, and if there are any questions, then as Dr. Saluja said, it can be answered later. Okay, so my agenda of the presentation is two parts. One is the technology part and how technology is evolving, and the second part is talking about the public-private partnership, how it will help the future of implementing systems. So here, if you look at it, I have covered two other points, which is incident management and guidance. Because I feel incident management and guidance are a prelude to enforcement. Because if you don't guide people, if you don't tell people what is right or wrong, you don't talk about situations or incidents, and then you find mistakes, then enforcement is not right. So I'm trying to cover both the points. And incident is a prelude to enforcement, because ultimately speed or lane encroachment or speed enforcement is ultimately an incident which ultimately you enforce to each other. So what is the need for technology on highways? So I've just brushed upon this point. One is increase in safety. Second is, road discipline. Third is motorist guidance, emergency response to situations, incidents and accidents, or even for enforcement responses. And a byproduct is the revenue generation. So I have just put the typical traffic management system on highways, where I'm going to talk about this colored part, which is, there are three aspects to a highway traffic management system. One is the, management part of it, the enforcement part of it, and the data collection. So when we talk about management, you have a lot of other aspects. I'll not talk about more because there are only 15-20 minutes, but I'm going to talk about incident detection, information distribution and guidance, and the enforcement part, which is speed and lane enforcement. Okay. So this is a typical architecture. It's a bit technical, being a technocrat and being a system integrator and an expert in system integration. I just touched upon this point. So we have you have various sensors in the input, like traffic sensors, video cameras, weather sensors, and other incidental sensors. Then you have a database and visualization and execution system application. And then there is an output. So this is just a simple way you can look at a highway command center or a highway control center. So 20% of the overall accidents which happen, the figures may be different, or maybe I've just taken it from Google, but then 20% of the overall accident reported are due to overspeeding. So speed enforcement is a system which can help, find defaulters and take actions, and that is the reason these systems have to be highly accurate and consistent in performance over time. So what is expected out of the system, out of any speed or lane enforcement system? One is it should consistently deliver tangible results. It should be highly accurate. It should have low calibration requirements. So it should be a self-calibrating system, or even if the requirement comes, they should be once in 1 year or 2 years, but not regular calibrations are required to really perform. Decisions are made on traceable incidents, so all incidents should have traceability of events and data. It should have a global track record of the solution. So it should be a proven solution working globally in India and abroad with a history of good performance. And the 5-point program of any detection is speed, lane, operator weaving under adverse conditions. Imaging should be synchronized with your detection. So your radar or a lidar, which I'm going to talk about, and the image, which will be an ANPR image, should be so synchronized that there are no errors. And the data acquisition should be a court-ready evidence. So LIDAR versus radar, this is something which is very important because till now radars were used, but the future of speed and lane enforcement is LIDARs because they are highly accurate. So LIDAR is nothing but a light detection and ranging device compared to radar, which is radio detection. So one works on sound, whereas other works on light. And as you know, light travels faster than sound. So because of that speed itself, it is able to measure accurately over high speed. So anything above 130, 140 kilometers, LIDAR will be the best choice for accuracies. Radar will not be able to give you more accuracy than 90%, 89%, whereas LIDAR can still give you an accuracy of 99%. The reason is, the wavelength of radar is in centimeters, whereas LIDAR is micrometers. So it's a very thin line that you can really get interfered with. So it is very accurate. Radar can see over longer distance, but the resolution is poor, whereas LIDAR can see shorter distances, but with very, very high resolution. So when we are doing speed enforcement or measuring speeds, it is normally you do over 100, 200 meters, and not across a kilometer. So LIDAR becomes a much tangible and better solution. LIDAR can do 3D imaging, and whereas radar can do 2D imaging. So you get the third dimension of your mapping, which gives you more accuracy. So and so forth. And nowadays, I don't know whether all of you have seen it, but then there are a lot of people who do radar jamming, or they have some device which they are able to see the radar and they immediately slow down because they detect the radar well in advance. And so this is a disadvantage of radar. Whereas LIDAR, it's very difficult to jam a LIDAR due to the micrometers wavelength. So there are no LIDAR jammers. So this is an advantage for more safety. So if you see, this is a geospatial mapping of a LIDAR and a radar. So the right side is a radar. So if you see the image, the LIDAR image is so accurate, and that is the reason the accuracies come to almost 99%. So this is a typical LIDAR view with the camera, LIDAR with the camera view. So you can see, every vehicle, you can see the lane number, the speed, whether it's a car or a truck. So it not only is able to do overspeeding or speed detection, it is also able to do a lane detection. So even majority of the problems that happen on highways is the truck is on the right lane, high speed lane. We give different speeds to different lanes, whereas we say, for example, Bombay-Pune Expressway, we talk about 80 to 100 kilometers, 80 kilometers for the LMVs on the right lane, whereas trucks should go at 60. But you find trucks going the right lane. So with the LIDAR detection, you are able to even classify the vehicles, and if the truck is in the long lane, you can get a lane challan also. So this is a typical architecture, how you can mount on a gantry. So I'm just not going much into the technical detail, but there are various options of mounting a LIDAR. You can have a central pole mounting, or you can have a gantry mounting with the ANPR cameras. Some of the photographs just to show it's a gantry mounting or a pole mounting. Now, this is something which is very important because a lot of people over time, they realize that, traveling on a particular road, because a lot of them are regular travelers, they travel every week or every day, and they know where the equipment is located. So they immediately slow down and again travel faster and dangerously, and again slow down when the next detector comes. So average speed enforcement is very important, where you have both the detection zones linked to a computer, and you not only get the spot speed at the next location, but you also get the average speed. And if your spot speed is within limit, but your average speed is above the limit, then you get an average speed challan, and you are still getting detected and enforced. So this is very important. You can also have displays where you can show the ANPR number with his average speed and also his spot speed, so that he realizes that what is his actual speed on the display itself. Video incident is also important for safety, because we are all talking about safety and mobility. So this is a very important aspect. So I've just touched upon 2 slides for this. So, in order to make roads safer, it is important that we are able to look at, detect incidents and take actions on time, because as they say, you can save a life in 10 minutes or 2 minutes, or whatever time you reach there, you can save lives. So So with the video detection solution, you can find stalled vehicles or an accident vehicle or a stopped vehicle or parked vehicle, or even overspeeding and lane braking is also part of detection. So enforcement is the next action, but detection is the first action that comes across. So the problems we face on the highways is slow-moving vehicles, stopped vehicles, reverse traffic, fallen objects, poor visibility, vehicle running in opposite directions. Sometimes if it is tunnel, then it is fire, and then so these are the actions that you can immediately initiate through your incident detection management systems. Now, this is a part which I've touched because this is the only way you can, this is an interface to the motorist, because this is the way you can tell the motorist that yes, you should be with your lane, or there's an accident ahead, there is a bad weather ahead, there is something which is critically going wrong and you should take another route or something like that. So we are finding that a lot of displays are just being like that without giving any incidental messages, without guiding people, without giving them journey reports or journey messages, and they're just used for some other messages which are advertisement or civil messages. I can tell you that 90% of the displays are putting irrelevant messages. So what are the messages that should really be there? So they should be directional signs or public messages to some extent, incident messages, warning messages, do's and don't messages, or travel guidance. So this is a very a little bit of, because we are both Tatte and myself, we are partners of Swarco, and they have one of the best displays in the world used in majority of the high-speed highways. So these displays are very important for road guidance. And what we see now, even in smart cities, which Dr. Saluja also talked and everybody talked about it, that are they really functioning? Are they really putting the right things? We are finding everywhere they're putting advertisement boards. The real requirement of highways are very high optics for displays, where every LED is covered by precision optic lenses. So where when the sunlight falls on the optics, it is able to not reflect on the motorist, but is able to put it down, and you get a very good contrast ratio. And the optics also is able to protect the LEDs. And due to the optics, you are able to save a lot of energy and a lot of power and allow you to use solar options. So there are a lot of advantages which these 3D optical lenses give on for VNSs. So just wanted to touch upon that part of the display, which is very important. So long life, consistency, power saving, and maintenance, effective LED failures are monitored, and a lot of things. So these are more technical, but just thought I'll just touch upon this. So now I'll talk about the public-private partnership model, and we have just taken a case study for Nagpur-Amravati Highway, which was something which Dr. Sikdar and we had discussed, and maybe I have a few slides to talk about it, how this will be useful for the future of highway traffic management and highway enforcement and safety. So this is a typical highway architecture, where we are talking in the left, we are talking about monitoring, we are talking about detection, after monitoring, then resolving the issue or reviewing and improving. On the top, we are finding, transportation systems. You can connect to parking, you can connect to VMS, you can connect to the traffic signals, you can connect to weather stations, counters, and CCTV and all that. And then you have the complete decision support running at the center, with the SOPs running, with the management plan strategy, the strategy recommendations, the report design tools and configuration tools. And then you have the traffic law enforcement, e-challan also part of the whole configuration, the visualization, and the data warehousing. So if you look at the left side, real-time traffic monitoring. So what are the requirements of highways? So you need real-time monitoring, you need traffic signal monitoring, RAM metering, traffic control information, speed violation and vehicle enforcement, signs, illegal parking enforcement, incident detection and monitoring, traffic facility maintenance, tunnel traffic management, bridge traffic management. The tunnels and bridge require different management strategies. Tunnel requires a lot of incident and fire and other aspect of detection. Road surface detection, which is very important because you find a lot of road surfaces, potholes and skiddy roads and oil spilled roads, which you should be able to detect and create incidents for people to give messages that you should drive slowly, and suddenly the lane sign and the speed sign should change based on the situation of the road. So all this is very important and all interconnected. But there are, on the right, I put certain barriers, because, many of these face a lot of barriers. Those barriers are very less, comparatively less in, Europe and US and other developed nations, but they are very high in the other third world and developing countries. So lack of financing, funding, lack of knowledge and skills, which is very important because a lot of, cottage industries product, unproven products are put on the road. Human resources, training. We talked about training and how important training is. Mr. Botra talked about training people. So a lot of people are not trained on the systems and they deliver the systems. They are not able to maintain the system. Lack of data, lack of guidance and practices, lack of socio-economic benefit, political willingness and cooperation among relevant agencies. What are the current implementation issues? There are only few concessionaires, contractors who look at this as the, as a priority. Otherwise, I think this is wrongly written, but very few look at this as a priority. Otherwise, most of them feel as at least priority. The motivation for the concessionaire is only to implement and start tolling. He looks at it as an expense, but not as a valuable life-saving and mobility asset. It is just that he has to put it for completing the project. Low price systems are given priority. All the big players in the world, because majority of the investment and developments and R&D have happened in Europe and other countries, but they are not able to come here and are able to use those technologies because of the price block, because of lack of technological awareness. There are only few consultants who have ITS experts and are exposed to global technology. So a lot of consultants even lack knowledge and they just do cut-paste job, and they're OEM driven and they look at certain OEMs and just drive those specifications. Minimum time with minimum quality becomes the order. There's no long-term commitment for the OEM and SI also, because they just put it and leave it because the concession is not serious. The terms of the contracts are not serious. The lack of audit and regulatory mechanisms. So. And what guidelines on system and solutions, specifications and functional requirement, they need to be updated to attract the best technologies. A lot of companies abroad like Swarco, Siemens feel, what is written in the technology manuals are not something that they feel and, their products will, it's not an apple to apple comparison for them. So we recommend that public-private partnership is the right solution for the future, where both the stakeholders have equal bearing on the offering. So it's a skin in the game. It's a concept where both of them are in the game. So it is skin in the game for both the government and the solution provider. It makes it a long-term engagement for both. It creates a direct relationship and accountability between the company and the government. So you avoid the concessionaires, you avoid the road construction companies because they are more of cement and sand companies. They look at technology in terms of weight and not in terms of its intelligence. So I feel that the time has come that government should engage with the technology companies and the big system integrators and trying to engage for large projects directly. This allows also audit procedures to automatically set in, because when you do large projects with such companies, there will be definitely ITS experts in the team who will be governing the project through the PPP period. The system performs over a 5-10 year period with proper upkeep, because this is a PPP. So you know that your money will be paid across 5 years, 10 years. So obviously the system integrator and the technology partners all are in the game for the next 10 years and delivering the services that are required for them also to get the money that they're already invested in the project.
Mr. Desai, just a minute more, please.
Sorry?
Just a minute or two more, that's.
Yeah. So the PPP can be a 60 to 70% of the capex, and the balance can be in equal installments across the PPP period. PPP period also will cover the cost of the operation and maintenance of the system, which is required to run the system, including software and the technology upgrades that are required for that period. The only thing what is required from government is to safeguard the financial commitment of the technology company through this long-term payment guarantees, so that it shouldn't happen that there are political changes or there are bureaucratic changes and suddenly the technology company or the SI is not able to get his money over that period. So this is a stretch of 150 kilometers. I just covered fast, and so we have just talked about 150 kilometer corridor, and we have talked about an expense of around 40 crores, for field equipment, for pole structures, gantries, for the command center, and so I'm not just going into detail. This is something which are approximate figures which we have done, of course, the last 4-5 days. Figures will vary by 10-15% plus minus, but then these are the approximate figures. So this can be the model of working where you, in a non-PP, you normally pay the full money. In the PPP model, you can pay 70% money. The rest can be paid across 20 quarters or across 5 years, and you can have a performance guarantee liability for the contractor. So I'm just closing this presentation because time is short. This is a small video which I would like everybody to see, because this talks about how a motorist can get a real good experience using the technology. Of course, you need good roads, like Dr. Saluja said, good traffic engineering. This is a European video, so obviously those things are handled better than what we have here. But just I can just put this video, and I hope everybody else. Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Desai. Thank you, Mr. Kate. It's so nice. It was an excellent presentation. Give us an idea of technology and the costs behind. We have with us 10 minutes to conclude the session, and we would like to open this for question and answers. 3 to 4 question and answers, as much as we can answer within 10 minutes. The floor is open, please.
There is a question from Kondala Rao. It says, why multiple agencies for enforcement? Doesn't it lead to confusion and lack of effectiveness? Anyone wants to take it up? Mr. Krishna Prasad?
Yeah, I think he's reacting to the slides I have presented. Yeah. But typically what is happening is when it comes to zero tolerance or the broken windows principle, what you have seen in New York City, what is happening is when the first incident goes unnoticed or undetected, and then next, and then the next, and then the next, that emboldens the person to commit the violation again and again. So fundamental thing is, how do we arrive at a zero tolerance? Because arriving at a zero tolerance, as I told you, from human intervention, it is not really that possible. So therefore, you should have a machine intervention or the technology intervention, number one. Now, even the technology intervention can be handled by more than one agency. Why not? I don't see any contradiction here. I've been a police officer for the last 35 years. I've seen several situations. When it comes to these are the questions typically we ask in India. We don't ask in USA. You go to USA, you go to the highways. How many enforcement agencies are there on the same stretch of road? It's just not single, there are many. The point, the principle, the logic there is nobody should think that I can do anything and get away with it. So therefore, he should come onto the radar or the lidar of our friend Dhaval Desai has mentioned. Some radar or some lidar, he should be detected. That is the idea.
Thank you. There is another question from Krishna Kumar. He is former CMS probably. Automatic systems for traffic enforcement and electronic collection of fines brings in equity and transparency, which is missing from conventional methodologies. One major issue I think still India has to mature is to bring automatic enforcement legal. Speed measurement enforcement equipment are always imported and they come with accuracy calibrated and valid for 6 months or so. In India, they continue to work till the electronic systems fail. It won't be late before the road users wake up and ask for valid metrology certification to be prosecutable, and courts will surely interfere. My question is, what are the facilities of periodic calibration currently available in the country? If PPP model comes, this will be more scrutinized. Maybe Mr. Dhaval to answer.
Mr. Desai, please.
Calibration. See, right now there are no there are systems which I talked about. Are many of the systems are self-calibrating systems, but then we do lack infrastructure for calibration in the country. So we rely on a lot of European labs for calibration. So our calibration infrastructure is still lacking in this country. For example, we talk about certain EN certifications for our displays, or we talk about even for traffic lights, but there is no lab in India which is able to give those certifications. So calibration is something that we look at international labs for calibration. So this is something that, as Krishna Kumar said, is a point that we should really look at.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Desai.
There is another question. Thank you very much for session. I want to know about bike riders' safety and its technology. How to control and improve safety of the logistic delivery boys.
Unfortunately, we don't have a law for the delivery boys. Neither it is a commercial vehicle, nor we have a law that they can carry huge amounts of packages behind. They carry as much as 30, 40, 50 kilos. It is totally unorganomic. And I'm sure the government of India needs to bring in more stricter laws for commercialized vehicles for delivery. In Southeast Asia now, for example, in Malaysia, two-wheelers have been segregated on all highways, and so also in Korea. And today, I think reduced speed limits, segregation of two-wheelers from the heavy vehicle traffic, and legislation where you are using as a commercial vehicle two-wheelers, this should be a legislation, I believe, should come in by the government of India.
There is an interesting question by one Mr. Ebin Sam. Shouldn't the research on traffic enforcement part of academics in traffic engineering? It may bridge the gap between traffic engineering and traffic enforcement. That's true, but Dr. Valuja, can you take it up?
Absolutely. Today, what is happening mostly in our schools of transportation planning, traffic engineering is a small subject, but it doesn't link the needs of the regulations, driving regulations to traffic engineering. And that is the very reason that today engineers are not aware of the legislation, nor are they aware about the traffic engineering. And much of it is dependent upon consultants. And consultancies have total consultancies on traffic engineering have ruined this country. And so today, very truly, traffic engineering, the dynamics of traffic modeling, etc., should form a very important part and should have an independent course in traffic engineering. And I will be glad to know that it is the first course of MSc in traffic management we started at our institute. in association with the Maharishi Dayanand University, giving 6 months to traffic engineering, 6 months to road safety audit, and the rest of it to enforcement, etc. But your suggestion is great. Thank you very much.
Somebody asked Rajiv Shimla, he says, can we not put camera monitoring at Morth Ministry identified black spots in country to pilot with? I don't know what he is actually be monitoring with the camera.
Actually, black spots are arising every day. Wherever we are constructing roads, a black spot comes in. The more we are clearing the black spots, the more we are creating them every day. And so you can't go on putting cameras. It is important that we need to have responsibility of the people. And the new section 198A of the Motor Vehicle Act is now very clear that the road authorities, concessionaires, consultants must build the roads as per the standards laid down by the IRC. And if any accident happens, there should be the responsibility. And we are appealing to the police that now suo moto, whenever you're writing an FIR or case diary, or you're putting a charge sheet, please also include any mistakes within the deficiencies of the road authorities. Mr. Krishna Prasad, please.
I think it's a very interesting question because, as you're aware, Dr. Rohit Baluja, the black spot is a result of a historical data. So the data which is accumulated and then analyzed, and some places where you're saying is this is a black spot, where then again we have done a ABC categorization in 2015 in AP, where if more than 20 fatalities are taking place in the same black spot, we call it A category, and more than 10 is B category, more than C is C category. That basically is a kind of a strategic approach. Now, after identifying a black spot, whether it is A category, B category, or C category, then all the stakeholder departments go to that spot and come out with some kind of a solutions or action plan. Now, after the action plan is drawn, we have a difficulty in terms of measuring what is the action taken report on the spot. So this is a very good suggestion. I mean, it didn't occur to me earlier. It is a very good suggestion that why don't we go and plant CCTV cameras, which the view can be seen from our central camera and on the dashboards of the senior officers as to how different stakeholder departments are reacting to that particular A category black spot. For example, engineering department, what are the corrections they're doing? Medical and health department, where are they positioning their ambulances? Police or enforcement or transport department, how are they taking care of this particular, and local villages and the education part. So I think it makes some sense. It is not a comprehensive solution, but it is a part of the solution, but makes a very valid point. That is my.
I think we have come to the end of the session. We just have a minute to sum up. And as per the requirements of the IRF, I need to once again compliment that we have actually seen today is a policy which needs to come up as far as the national highways, state highways is concerned. 20 years ago, when we were working, we had a group coming from the secretaries, and we started to work with CISF, and the chairman CISF, the national highways, and so it went to the secretariat, and there the police departments came forward and they said, no, sorry, we don't want to lose our hold on to the National Highway Authority or CISF taking away these things. But today, very rightly, as you said, it is technology, and the rest of it goes to the state highways. And so it was a good beginning of the policy. Mr. We had a very interesting about the again and again, we are treating the black spots, but again, they're rising. And so there has to be something which needs to be done. Plus also one more very interesting thing, that it is an important thing that an IPS officer, if not a principal secretary transport, but a commissioner transport, the police is posted because they have seen both sides. they at least can understand the needs of traffic, because today all responsibilities of traffic management are with the police. Police is on the road, and so they have to take it. So a very good factor. We had a very good presentation, both together with Mr. Thate and Mr. Desai, and we could learn about the importance of technology, which also Mr. Krishna Prasad was speaking, that this technology and public-private partnerships could actually pave the way for a good future and improving road safety. And towards the end, we would like to in the International Road Federation India Chapter, and we'd like to wish Mr. K.K. Kapila the best of health, that he recovers fast and he's back into the next sessions when we see him, and for all of us to invite us here and me to moderate. It has pleasure. And would Mr. Taude like to say a few words to close now, please?
So thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks to.
So,
yeah. Hello.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Well, please go ahead.
Excellent session on enforcement. I recollect when I was a member in NHI, we had prepared one proposal, dedicated police force for the highway, national highways under NHI. It was a very costly proposal, around pan India, it would have cost around 2,000 crore. Then we recommended proposal to Government of India that time from NHI side, and the Home Ministry was piloting that project. In fact, it was piloted by the Home Ministry, and NHI was to fund it. It was in the end of 18 and early of 19. I think that time Mrs. Meera Borwankar was DG, your Central Police Force. She was in charge, and she's being from Maharashtra cadre. She was slightly known to me. It was a good proposal, but what you say that there should not be a single authority. There should be multi-authority, central police or central highway enforcement machinery, then state. It was really a work. Now I work in the field, we find that it is a passing the always Mr. Gadkari also reiterated that the faulting the drivers. Any extent we generally find fault in the drivers. People also start catching the drivers. Drivers are absconding, but there are engineering measures. Mr. Krishna Prasad has rightly placed. In spite of having improved, I think it was from Mr. Botha. In spite of having improved the black spot repeated times, there are repeated accidents. Something missing in the engineering removal of the deficiency. I think collective and sincere efforts are to be done by the enforcement agencies and highway engineering authorities. I can conclude that it was really excellent presentation. Everybody must have gained out of it. And the last presentation from Amit Thate and Dhaval Desai, that is particularly traffic enforcement through PPP model. That is also good idea. And they are planning a one project in Maharashtra where I was in charge. So that is a good, if that project sees the light of the day, that would be a good beginning. With then I request Sikdar sir to have his concluding words and conclude the session, close the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I give my vote of thanks, or rather gratefulness, to Dr. Baluja for sparing his time and doing the moderation for this webinar, and also all the speakers, particularly Mr. Krishna Prasad, Mr. Bothra, Amit Thate, and Mr. Dhaval Desai. All of them have done wonderfully well in their presentations and excellent information. And we need these presentations in the PDF format. Kindly send it us by tomorrow evening or maybe day after tomorrow morning, so that we can put it up in the website, so that others who couldn't attend, they also can gain from these presentations. So thank you so much for sparing your time. The slide which is shown on the screen is for 11th webinar. This is in little extensive format. where there will be a small inaugural session where there will be a message from Mr. Nitin Gadkari. Then our state ministers will be personally present to give his information. And then, of course, there will be a technical session with the doctors. Doctors who know the subject on various aspects of trauma care and emergency response, that will be counted. And lastly, there will be few kind of question answer session asking few panelists about the various options, various suggestions, and they will be analyzing and giving their views. So that's the format in which the next webinar will be, and that's the 11th webinar on 17th of November. Thank you so much. All of you have very nice evening and wish you great health and safety in these days of COVID. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.